Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
All right, welcome to another edition of C2C Rankem, brought to you by Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I'm the host, Big B, alongside my counterpart, my tag team partner, the guy that lives halfway across the world, the Prime Moose, Tim Hendricks. How you doing?
I'm doing good. WrestleMania weekend this past weekend, opening day for MLB this past weekend. What can you say? It's two national holidays in one.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a sports fan, wrestling fan, this is something you look forward to. So this week's list, we compiled a list of a little wrestling list. I think we did one a few months ago, but this is strictly WrestleMania related topics. So this should be fun. Some categories I don't think we're going to have any right. We'll kind of do a little prediction on what we'll have. This first category, I think we're going to have three. I think maybe four. And it's the opening. It's we thought it was the national anthem, but fool us. It's America the Beautiful. So we got the top 5 performances of America the Beautiful. So, like I said, we possibly have 3. I think, right?
3. I'm gonna go with 2.
Go with 2.
I think 2.
Okay. Well, it might be our 1 and 2 then, because that's where I think we got at least 2 right.
I think that's where we're at too.
All right. So you're number 5.
WrestleMania 7. When you think of I never, when I saw this, I didn't really think he did the America the Beautiful, and then when you find out that he did, and he would seem like he would be more for this time period than he did in WrestleMania 7. And that's Willie Nelson.
Yeah, you're right. I did see that. You start ranking things, you see people's names, you're like, okay, put them on there, and then you start filling in and kind of bump them down.
Right.
My number 5, she did it twice. I was just kind of looking up because I thought I wrote down the numbers, but I didn't. But she's the former ring announcer of WWE, Lillian Garcia, and that lady, I don't know how she's not. I know she has, I think, one CD out, but I don't know how she's not pursuing this more. So that's my number 5. Your number 4.
My number 4. When I saw this on the list, it was really interesting because it's the only one that's a group of boys from Harlem. I honestly remember WrestleMania 20 and the Harlem Boys Choir singing America the Beautiful. I thought, I really thought at that time, I thought WWE or WWF, I believe it was WWF at the time, should have stayed in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Put younger talent, up and coming talent on the stage for America the Beautiful. And when they put Harlem the Boys Choir, I really thought they were going to go in that direction. It was a little disappointing that they didn't, but yeah, I went with the Harlem Boys Choir, WrestleMania 20.
No, definitely like that one. Again, another one that I saw that's just like, ooh, kind of bumped down. But yeah, you are right, and I think they're kind of doing that now, where they're bringing, at least some connection to where WrestleMania is at into that. My number 4. Her voice, WrestleMania 4, if I do my Roman numerals right, Gladys Knight. What can you say about Gladys Knight that hasn't been said? Your number 3.
My number 3. I think one of the best singers that they've had on WrestleMania for America the Beautiful, and this was before he really hit big. I think he had just got done doing the movie with I want to say Samuel Jackson and Bernie Mac, where he plays the third member of their
Yep.
I think this was about that time. And when I hear, and this guy's got such an amazing voice that he's one of those that I love hearing. And this was at WrestleMania 24. John Legend.
No, I definitely saw that one. No, he does have a good voice. I mean, how can you? Well, I didn't have him on my list. I was gonna say how can you not have him on the list, but I'm going with a personal favorite. As you guys know, if you see my Facebook page, I'm all about these guys. Love the R&B. WrestleMania 15, Boys to Men.
I saw that one.
Nope.
I saw another one too, but
okay. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. All right, you're number 2.
My number 2, I believe I had on my list. When we did a list of, oh man, it's been about 3-4 weeks. It was a birthday list.
Yep.
February birthday list, March birthday list. And no, as a matter of fact, it was last week. This is how bad it is. This was last week. The Queen of Soul, the Godmother of Soul, Aretha Franklin at WrestleMania 3.
Okay. My number 2 is a guy that, for his disability of not being able to see and being able to do what he does in music, Ray Charles. I got him WrestleMania 2. He did it. So, your number 1?
My number 1 is your number 2. Is Ray Charles. I saw that. I remember WrestleMania 2. I don't know how many times I used to rent at Blockbuster and Hollywood Video WrestleMania 2. Yep. Granted, it was great matches up and down that card. Yeah, Ray Charles, WrestleMania 2.
Yeah, and of course we flip-flop because your number 2 is my number 1. Aretha Franklin, she did it twice. WrestleMania 3, WrestleMania 23. So
I've got a question for you.
What?
Did you miss one?
Who'd I miss?
Did you know that Reba McEntire sang the America the Beautiful?
Yeah. No, I did. Because if I remember right, I think it was
10 or 11.
That COVID hit. They did it at the
Performance Center.
Performance Center, and they did clips of everybody, which was phenomenal. Opening, they did like a couple lines from each person. That's when Reba. No, I knew she did it.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, she would have been up there.
You could have had a homer pick. We also
did. I had Boys to Men.
Yeah, I know. I saw that too, and I'm thinking he's going Boys to Men. He's going Reba McEntire.
Yeah, and then I could have probably did 3 and 4 did a combo. Together because I did that for a couple others, but yeah. So, all right. So we're moving on to our top. This one's going to be kind of interesting, I think. Our top WrestleMania cards, I think, is how we want to go.
The WrestleMania top five WrestleManias.
Yeah, top 5 WrestleManias. Or did you not do that?
Oh no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're top good. 5 WrestleManias. So you're number 1.
5. My number 5.
5, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, this took place in Seattle. It had the first TLC match between the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, and the Hardys. It had This wasn't Seattle. Now I'm thinking about it. Wasn't Seattle. Um, had the first Rock in Austin. WrestleMania 17. It had Angle Benoit. I think it was one of Benoit's best matches. Yes, we're not afraid to say Benoit.
Yeah.
We understand what he did. We don't condone what he did, but the man's still a hell of a technician when he was in the ring. So, but yeah, WrestleMania 17.
WrestleMania 17 was in Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas.
That was in Houston.
Mine was my number 5. I don't think. Well, we all know for a fact that if this WrestleMania was a flop, wrestling is not what it is today. And if Vince Senior had his way, this would not have happened. But back,
this one would have happened. Period.
What's that?
Yeah, this one wouldn't have happened. Period.
Yeah, and it happened at Madison Square Garden back on March 31st, 85, and that's WrestleMania 1. I mean, Vince's idea. He said, I believe everybody laughed at him to try to get all this talent in there. And his dad finally gave into him and said, go ahead. And, now we're 39 WrestleManias in and, we're still talking about it. So you're number 4.
Yeah, I saw that one. That's a good one. Yeah. This one, see, I mixed them up. 17 and 19, I mixed up. 19's the Seattle match, is the Seattle WrestleMania, where it was Triple H versus Booker T for the title. I want to say it was for a title, or it wasn't. I can't remember. It was Austin's last match and it was against The Rock, which everybody sees. Everybody knows this match almost move for move. There was the Angle Lesnar match where Lesnar tried to do a moonsault and decided to almost break his neck. It was then there was the Hollywood Hogan Vince McMahon match.
Yep.
That one was a bloody mess. And that's WrestleMania 19.
Yep. No, that I remember watching that live. And like you said, Brock Lesnar doing that, and that used to be his finisher.
Oh yeah,
I remember watching a couple of events here before he became big. Him and Benjamin used to be team up, and that would be his finisher off the top rope 3 backflip. And yeah, he after that he said he was not doing that ever again. So yeah, my next one is WrestleMania. Like I said, get my Roman numerals right. From Boston, Massachusetts, 1998, March 29th, you had Michaels versus Austin for the world title, where Tyson knocked him out. WrestleMania 14. And of course, I posted that in the chat one day about something, and somebody goes, that was fake. No, dude, Tyson knocked him out completely. He's still laying there. I mean, come on, people. All right. You're number 3.
So I'm going to explain this the best way I can. This WrestleMania took place where Taker took on Kane for the first time. Rock versus Shamrock, I think it was for the Intercontinental title. You're looking it up, aren't you?
I'm just looking at the WrestleManias. So,
and then there was the special guest referee for the World Heavyweight Championship, and with a little known person with the nickname Iron. My number 3 is your number 4.
Yeah. No, I just, and they hyped up that WrestleMania so good. I mean,
well, they had it on ESPN. They hyped it on ESPN, and it was like as soon as you hyped it on ESPN, you made it huge.
And I think that's one of the first WrestleManias too, where, yeah, like you said, ESPN got involved. So
yeah.
All right, so my number 3 happened a couple years ago, and it was the second of the 2-nighter, or the second time they did 2 nights. Of course, the first one we talked about being in the Performance Center. This one was actually in front of a crowd, which I cannot see WWE going back to one nights, even though there's talk that they're going to. But this was at Ramsey James Stadium, Tampa, Florida, WrestleMania 37. I mean, you got two stacked cards. Banks and Belair for the title, one. Roman versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan in the triple threat in the second one. I can't say anything more about WrestleMania 37. So that's my number 3. Your number 2.
My number 2, it's that when you're headlining, when your headliner is Hogan and Mr. T versus Piper and Orndorff with Muhammad Ali as your special guest referee. If that's not on your card, you don't have a WrestleMania 2. There's a and it's definitely WrestleMania 1.
And that's one thing back then. WrestleMania 1, 2, 3. It was star driven. It was everybody was there. Anybody hot right now at that time was at WrestleMania. And Mr. T, you said Ali. I can't even remember who else showed up that night. But there was tons of them.
I think Liberace was there. I think Liberace was the one who did America the Beautiful. Yeah,
that was the go-to thing.
Yep.
So we're at number 3.
2.
No, 2. I'm sorry, number 2. WrestleMania that I got on my number 2. Levi Stadium. You had Brock versus Roman. Well, let's just say it was the heist of the century WrestleMania. This is where Seth cashes in and takes the world title, and that's WrestleMania 31. I don't think in 2015. I don't think anything else has to be said about that except for the heist of the century.
Yep.
So, your number 1.
My number 1. I believe this one took place in Madison Square Garden too. Razor Ramon versus Razor versus Shawn Michaels in the ladder match. Brett versus Owen, brother versus brother match, and I believe Brett ends up winning the title to Yokozuna from Yokozuna, and then ends up losing it right directly after to Hogan because he didn't feel that Yokozuna should have lost the title. And that's that wasn't that.
That's not the same WrestleMania.
Wasn't the same WrestleMania.
I'm almost positive.
WrestleMania 10.
WrestleMania 10. Yeah, that was in Madison Square Garden. Piper was a special guest referee. You're thinking of there was one in Vegas, I think it was.
Is that the one?
That was the year before.
That's the one where because that's the one where Taker beats Hogan at Caesar's Palace by disqualification, and then Hogan comes back and ends up. No, that's a different one too.
No, that was the one. The one you're thinking of is where it was supposed to be Beefcake and Hogan. Well, it was Beefcake versus Hogan in a tag match versus Money Incorporated, and it was supposed to be for a title. That's where Hogan came out with the big black eye,
right.
And then he comes back and throws his name in after the Yokozuna Hart match.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, I mean, still WrestleMania 10, like you said, was a pretty good one. Was that the brother for brother one?
Yep.
Because it was. Owen defeated Hart. Yeah, that's right. And then Hart comes back. My number 1, possibly obviously it's my best WrestleMania because it's number 1. But this had the stack card of Giant, Hogan versus Andre, Savage, I think. Oh, let me just make sure because I wrote down a date wrong on something else.
Was that WrestleMania? I know what WrestleMania
is. Let's see. Honky Tonk versus Jake Roberts. Steamboat versus Savage, which to me, that was the match of the night. If it wasn't for Hogan, Giant that should have been the main event. Danny Davis teams up with the Hart Foundation to take on Tito Santana, the Bulldogs. Piper versus Adrian Adonis, hair versus hair match. And that's where you get the beginning of Beefcake because Brutus Barber, because he leaves the Dream Team. And that's WrestleMania 3. That's my number one. And yeah. All right. So we've kind of talked about celebrities. Let's get into our top 5 celebrities that have, I don't know how you did it, but I just showed up at WrestleManias. So I don't know if you put them in as matches or what, but
I didn't put them in as matches. I just listed them as
we should have 2 for sure on this one, maybe 3.
I'm looking at maybe 3. We could have 3 or 4.
Yeah. So all right. Go ahead with your number 5.
My number 5, this is the reason why I think it wasn't 3. It was. I can't remember the WrestleMania. So at this point, don't quote me. I can't remember. At this point, okay. I know it's not 3, but I think it might be 2. And it's Cyndi Lauper. She basically started the whole rock and wrestling. That's 2.
Yeah, I think it was 2 for sure.
I know it's not 3.
Yeah. It could have been 1 though. I know they Cyndi Lauper was part of 1 too. So
okay.
Yeah, that's when it all started, like we said. I mean,
that's basically that started the rock and wrestling. That really started the whole crossover because at that point she became the first big name that showed up and made a huge crossover.
Yep. This one, I'm not gonna say it was a homer pick, but I just remembered them because WrestleMania 2 had the big battle royal. I think it was the Chicago I think it was WrestleMania 2, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, if it's who I think it is, it's 2. Yeah.
It's they had a big battle royal. And that's William Perry. He was in WrestleMania 2 and he got elected into WrestleMania Hall of Fame in at WrestleMania 22. So that was my number 5. Your number 4.
My number 4 doesn't happen if your number 5 doesn't get in the ring at WrestleMania 2. Truthfully, if Bam Bam Bigelow didn't pick a fight with my guy, I don't think my guy gets in the ring, and that's probably the best sack specialist in the NFL in NFL history. And he did this after breaking Joe Theismann's leg, and that's Lawrence Taylor.
Yep. No, I definitely like that, and I think you're right. If Perry and I mean, as a matter of fact, some of the celebrities that have been in previous WrestleManias, didn't show up. I mean, I don't think we get many celebrities wrestling in today's WrestleMania. And my number 4 is you brought him up in one of your Mania takes. He was in 1 and 2. He had a boxing match at WrestleMania 2. He had a tag match in WrestleMania 1 with Hogan. That's Mr. T. And I think he was inducted too a few years ago.
Yep.
So your number 3.
My number 3 is your number 4. Mr. T. It's one of those. I think it was because Hogan was in. Oh man, this is going to be so bad. Rocky 3.
Yep.
With Mr. T. If Hogan doesn't do, and Hogan got fired briefly for that. He wasn't supposed to be doing those type of things, and Vincent Sr. wasn't too happy. But in the grand scheme of things, Mr. T doesn't become a bigger household name unless Hogan brings him for WrestleMania 1 and then WrestleMania 2.
Yep. No, and that's the thing. Hogan, there's a couple movies that Hogan's brought in actors to feud with in wrestling. I mean, Zeus is another one that he brought in. My number 3 is probably the most recent guy I have on here. He was in WrestleMania 24, 27, 32, and we saw him this weekend co-hosting WrestleMania. And that's Snoop Dogg. And, he's sooner or later going to get in the Celebrity Wing of Hall of Fame. You're number 2.
My number 2 we saw as recently as last year. To be honest, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that he hadn't been in WrestleManias before this because of the kind of stupid, kind of antic type of stunt stuff that he does, and the 4 movies and the TV shows that he's put out, and I mean he's a showman. He's one of those that I think WWE love to have. And he and to be honest, in my opinion, I think he put on a banger with Sami Zayn last year. And I thought he should have been doing this for 20 years ago. And that's Johnny Knoxville.
No, and the thing is he's kind of our version of I should say our version, but I mean he's kind of like the Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
And that was actually a pretty good segment, WrestleMania match. I mean, they brought out a lot of things. My number 2, and I'm kind of interested now to see who your number 1 is, because I thought maybe we'd have 2 and 1 together again. My number 2 is the voice of the Brewers, Bob Uecker. He was at WrestleMania 3, 4, and 24, which I think he got elected to the Hall of Fame that year.
I think I think in his list, I think in his speech, I think he says this is before. It's weird that I got inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame before I got inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
And the thing is, if you're a baseball fan, you know who Bob Uecker is. You know that. I mean, he's going to get in as an announcer. We know that.
Of course.
I mean, but you're number 1.
He's been in since 71. He's been doing announcing since 71. But
yep, you're number 1.
My number 1. I think this goes without saying. Maybe the only Hall of Fame this man is ever getting into because of stupid things, stupid politics in baseball. The only guy to have been tombstoned in 3 or 4 consecutive WrestleManias. And he wasn't even wrestling. I think he was just a in-ring announcer for a brief second. And that's Pete Rose.
Yep. Yeah, nope. Yeah, that's number 1 for me. WrestleMania 14, 15, WrestleMania 2000, and then and then WrestleMania 20. Yeah. You're probably right. That's the only Hall of Fame that he's going to see as he's alive. But
Right.
He'll get in the Baseball Hall of Fame someday. I'm surprised you had Bob Uecker off the list.
I had Bob Uecker. I did. I actually originally didn't have Cyndi Lauper either, so don't feel bad.
Yeah, I thought about Cyndi too, and with those men, because like we said, 1, if WrestleMania doesn't happen, we're not talking WrestleMania,
Right?
And then 2, if the celebrities did pan out like they did, we're not seeing celebrities like being used as
Right.
they are now. All right, so let's get into top matches. This one I think is going to be very interesting. I think we're going to have 2, maybe, if that, because there's so many great matches to choose from. So you're number 5.
I brought this up in my great WrestleManias. If there isn't this match, I don't think they make a play. I don't think they make a pay-per-view. I don't think they make a pay-per-view about this match. A separate pay-per-view. Really, really epitomized what the Attitude Era was, and really the extreme part of the Attitude Era was. And that's the TLC match in WrestleMania 17 between Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys, and the Dudleys. I swear, I don't know how many times I watched that match, and I still think that Jim Ross is going to have a heart attack or a stroke somewhere in the middle of that match.
Yeah, no kidding. That was my number 5. Speaking of matches that were iconic, um, and I think you brought it up in your top WrestleManias. The ladder match between HBK and Razor Ramon. Who would have thought to hang 2 titles? Because that's what they're inviting for, was who was the ultimate uh, Intercontinental Champion. Put 2 titles up on hanging from the rafters, and you climb a ladder to get them to win. Um, and that's brought so many matches out. So yeah, HBK versus Razor at Mania 10. You're number 4.
I'll stick with Mania 10.
And you'll raise me.
But I'm going to raise you a WrestleMania 10, and I brought it up in my best WrestleManias. The build up to this match was so big, so iconic, and it proved that Bret Hart wasn't the only one who could promote a match, who could sell a match before you even get into the ring. A man who I'm lucky enough to see live in arena with, and it's amazing to see, and that's WrestleMania 10, brother versus brother, Owen Hart versus Bret Hart.
Yeah, that match was definitely iconic. Like I said, this list is gonna go all over the place because my number 4 is your number 5. Like you said, if this match doesn't happen, especially with these 3 teams, the TLC match at WrestleMania 17, Dudley's, Hardy's, Edge and Christian, we don't see this Daredevil act again. We don't see ladder matches. We don't see table matches. And to combine them all together to make one match, if they ever decide to start, because there's been rumors that they want to start adding matches into the Hall of Fame, this has to be number 1.
This got to be number 1. This has got to be number 1.
The first match elected into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So you're number 3.
Remember how I said I see your WrestleMania 10 and raise your WrestleMania 10?
Yep.
Well, I'm going to go back to your number 5 and bring it into my number 3. I remember this match. I can remember, this is one of those matches that you can remember move for move, what happened, the build up. It's strange. And I remember how they used to say it. Well, we've after that match. Oh, you've seen ladder matches before that match, but nothing at the point we didn't see 2 icons going up on a ladder to go after a belt. And the only way these 2 are doing it is because they're best friends. You know, if Scott Hall and Shawn Michaels aren't best friends, you don't put yourselves you don't make this match. And that's WrestleMania, WrestleMania 10, Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental at the for the ladder match.
Yeah, no, that's definitely an iconic one. My next one, and I'm just going to fact check something quick here because I believe they wrestled at back-to-back Manias. I could be wrong. But anyways, yeah, I think they wrestled at 25 and then turned around and did it again at WrestleMania 26. But the one I'm talking about, both matches were iconic, but the Taker versus HBK match where they had the Taker rise from the ground and then they had Shawn Michaels come down as the God, I guess, all in white. But yeah, that's when everybody started talking that the streak may end when he started facing HBK twice, Triple H.
Right. The end of the eras, what they call the end of the era trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, Taker versus HBK 25 and 25 mainly, but 26 too was also a good one too. Your number 2.
I'm going to be honest. My top 2 could have been flip flop. They're iconic. They're everything. They're everything that you want in a WrestleMania match. Just a wrestling match to begin with. But my number 2 is from WrestleMania 3. You brought it up in WrestleMania 3. This is the match this is what they call the blueprint on how matches should be put together. If Savage isn't the heel and Steamboat's the face, and anybody knows when they put matches together that the heels call the match in the ring. And if Savage, again, either one of them could have called this match, but Savage absolutely called a perfect match. There's a reason why it's called the Blueprint, and that's Ricky Steamboat versus Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3.
Yes, and that's actually my number 2. I mean, you had Savage versus Steamboat. You had the love triangle, I guess, interest in George Animal Steel in Steamboat's corner, lusting over Miss Elizabeth, trying to get her away from Savage. You had Steamboat walking away with the title with the help of George Animal Steel, and I think it was Jesse Ventura as they're ending the match and going away. Said that Steamboat needs to cut that belt in half and give it half to George Animal Steel because he's the one that helped him win it. But yeah, WrestleMania 3, that to me, that was the match of the night that night.
Oh, it was. Without a question.
Yeah, Hogan and Giant were iconic because of what that meant to wrestling. But yeah, like you said, the blueprint. And a lot of people are saying that was the blueprint of how a match should be done.
Right.
So, your number 1.
To me, I think this is the iconic match. I think both wrestlers in the match agree it's an iconic match. They're up there. I think if you were to ask a lot of other wrestling podcasts, shows, a lot of them have this match in the top 5, if not their top 2. And it brings out such an iconic look. And it keeps getting shown. Every time they show Steve Austin, it comes from this match. The blood coming down his face.
Oh, yeah. I know
the Crimson Mask.
That.
And it's from WrestleMania 13, the I Quit match between Bret Hart and Steve Austin.
Yeah. No, you're right. That does get shown a lot. Yeah, that was Austin. Yeah, I don't know how he walked away with the blood that was coming down his face. I mean, my number 1, and I've said this over and over again. This is probably my favorite match of all time, no matter what you're talking about. And I don't see it happening too much. Maybe in a near future, we might see a match like this happen again. And that was, at the time, you had 2 faces. You had 2 icons of wrestling. You had Hogan versus Warrior at WrestleMania 4, title versus title. I mean, the crowd was split itself. I mean, they would cheer for everything. Then you would hear Hogan chants, and you'd hear Warrior chants. But I mean, that WrestleMania 4, I mean, the card was pretty stacked. I mean, itself, but I don't recall. I mean, I guess you go Hogan, Rock. The last time you had 2 faces kind of facing each other. I know Hogan at the time was still NWO, but he kind of turned. But that definitely, I've said it before, Hogan versus Warriors is my all-time favorite match. All right, so let's get into the Hall of Fame itself. We're going to start with singles wrestlers wrestlers, I guess we could say, that should be in the Hall of Fame that are not in the Hall of Fame. You're number 5.
Okay, I got a question. Did you do separate men and women?
No, I put them together.
Okay, well, then this is going to be
Why,
fun.
did you do separate men and women?
Yeah, I did. It's cool. I can go with this on the way. How do I fix this? No, I got it. Okay. I know how to pull this one. I know how to pull this one off.
You can do the top 10. I mean, let's go.
No, we can do 5. It's no.
Okay.
I can figure out where I got it figured out which way to go with this.
Okay.
This one's kind of a homer pick for me because I was blessed enough to have actually met the man and have a decent conversation with him. A 2-generation wrestler. Unfortunately, his dad's passed, but his brother had a match this past weekend, and he was in attendance at WrestleMania for his brother. I've been seeing pictures. If you go on Diamond Dallas pages, page on Facebook, you see Dustin Rhodes. To me, I love Dustin Rhodes. This is a man who you give him a gimmick and he will run that thing into the ground and he will make it the best thing that has ever been put out there. He's just like his shirt says in AEW, five decades going strong. It's you see Dustin Rhodes, and that apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah, no, I really like that pick, and honestly, I'm not gonna say he did cross. Oh, he did cross my mind, but no, that definitely. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't at WrestleMania last night. Or
he was. I saw the pictures.
Oh, he was there. Okay.
Yeah, he was there. Like I said, if you go on DDP's page on Facebook, there's pictures of DDP talking to Dustin.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, heaven forbid they have a relationship inside of wrestling too. I mean,
yeah, like the whole problem with Ricky Starks showing up at a WWE pay-per-view, and think he's showing up for
or Malachi Black showing up at the Hall of Fame too. I mean,
yeah, exactly. He just happens to be married to Zelina Vega. No big deal.
Yeah. All right, my number 5 is a guy who, for his size, did a lot of things. Bam Bam Bigelow, I think, should get in. I did have Vader. I will say this: I had Vader, and then I was doing something, and it dawned on me. Oh, Vader was already elected into the Hall of Fame, so I had Vader and Bam Bam together because both these guys, for their size, could move, could do somersaults, could go out the top rope, could do backflips. So yes, I did have Vader on, but I realized that he wasn't. So Bam Bam Bigelow is my number 5. You're number 4.
All right, I'm going to do what you just did. You lumped a couple in together, and I'm going to lump a couple in. They're pioneers, and in the WWF, and I believe one briefly in the WWE because they changed halfway through her career. One was a pioneer because we brought her up earlier because if she was such a crossover phenomenon, number one in the charts in the 80s in music, and the other one she first started out and this is the funniest thing is when you hear this is when the other one starts out as the bodyguard for Triple H, and then becomes the first woman to be in the Royal Rumble, the first woman to ever win the Intercontinental title, if I'm right, and it's Cyndi Lauper in China. Both pioneers, absolute pioneers in this business.
Cyndi Lauper wasn't in the Hall of Fame?
Nope.
Wow.
I know. I know. Like I said, I double checked because I got into a couple message boards going, why isn't Cyndi Lauper in? They're all saying Cyndi Lauper should have went in before Andy Kaufman. I'm like, you're an idiot.
Well, no, I will debate that. I think Cyndi Lauper should have gone in.
I think Andy Kaufman should have went in years ago.
Yeah, I mean that's something we can debate about.
About the time
some people are going to debate that Kaufman doesn't belong in there, but
Kaufman deserves to be in there.
I think he does.
I think Kaufman should have went in at about the time that they were putting out Man in the Moon with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I think that's when they should have done it. They should have really pushed hard for it then.
But, man, I'm surprised Cyndi Lauper's not in there. Wow. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so my number 4 is a guy who I think in today's wrestling, I think would definitely be not a mid card, but he'd be an opening match all the time because I don't think his characters and stuff, but his talent wise, I mean, tag champ, IC champ. Some people maybe thinks that he could have made a brief stint at the WWF title, but back in his younger days up here in the AWA, he was AWA heavyweight champion. He went from being a tag man to being the model, Rick Martel. So I'm going with Rick Martel as my number 4.
I had to think about that for a second. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about?
Yeah, Rick Martel, yeah. You're number 3.
My number 3. I'm bringing out the WCW at this point.
Okay.
And I'm going to lump these two together because I don't know how many times I used to watch Nitro and how many times I watched Thunder, and they stuck these two guys together because being so technical and hell, they were good bookers in the WCW. They booked, and now I think they're both. I think they both are bookers and coaches at the Performance Center now in for the WWE.
Okay.
You've got the Man of 1,000 Holds in Dean Malenko and Hornswoggle's father, who you nicely brought up in our chat last night, Fit Finley. I think those two men have what they've done for the wrestling business alone should put them in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like you said, especially Malenko, Fit Finley, like you said, I think both are trainers at the Performance Center. Yeah, they definitely need to get in. I got another guy too that I think will get in soon. He jumped ship a little bit, came back.
Cody Rhodes, woohoo!
Yeah. Haven't seen him on WWE since he's been back. If he's officially back, I can't remember, but I know he's done a lot of back. He was the innovator for the I can't think of it now. And NXT UK, he's brought some people over from there. Everybody talks about him. They love working with them as a business guy and as to learn. William Regal, the working man.
How did I not remember Steven Regal?
Yeah.
How did I forget Steven Regal?
So the working man, William Regal.
You're
number 2.
We officially have one person on this list that are the same. And it's not Steven Regal because I just said, how did I forget Steven and William Regal? Oh my God. And he's the one that, and the screwed up thing is he's the one that helped Triple H perfect his character in both the WCW and WWF. Yep. Oh my gosh. How did I forget that? Wow. That sucks. It's not a Tony Gwynn swing and miss, but it's big enough. My number 2 is your number 5. I see Bam Bam Bigelow and I look at it. It's like, how is this man not in the Hall of Fame? It's crazy, and to see what he's done, it's just so I can't even. When he was with the stable with the $1 million $1 Million Man, he just does so much. That was the reason. $1 Million Man is the reason. Is the person that got him into that match against Lawrence Taylor. It's just crazy that how Bam Bam Bigelow is not in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. No, you're exactly right there. My number 2 we're at, right? Yeah, number 2. Yeah. This lady should be in before, and yes, I know she wasn't a wrestler.
Oh my God. She's my number 3 on my women's list. I already know where you're going.
But she was the innovator of the ballets, and Savage said that when they wanted him to be a manager, he said, "Let me think about it." He finally came up with the name. I don't know why she's not in, and she definitely should be in before a couple recent, at least one recent woman. I'll say,
Sunny.
That's Miss Elizabeth.
She should be in before Sunny.
Yeah, Miss Elizabeth. I was talking Queen Charmel, but
oh God, yeah,
Miss Elizabeth should be in. I mean, for what she meant to Savage in his career and the ballet / manager position. And the thing is, she didn't get involved like the managers do. I mean, she was strictly there for show.
Yep.
And everybody loved her. So you're number 1.
Wow, I have her on my women's list. She's my number 3 on my women's list. Since the WWE threw a curveball at us this year and inducted a current rostered wrestler or superstar as they want to be called by the WWE. I went with one as well.
Ooh.
This man's a shoo-in. This man is such a shoo-in, it's not even funny. Has an amazing podcast. You should listen to it. When I think he was in Japan with Guerrero, with Eddie and Chris Benoit. He was in ECW again with Eddie and Chris Benoit and Malenko. WCW, one of the innovators. He was in Mexico for a brief time. Then he went to the WWE, WWF when he first started. The first true grand champion, I believe, in the WWF. Left. I think the only place he hasn't been in is TNA. AEW. He comes back to do Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold while he's under contract with AEW. There's a reason why this guy is the best one of the best in the business, and this is why he has his own appreciation society in the AEW, and that's Chris Jericho.
Yep, the man of 1,001 holds, so he's better than Malenko.
That's why I put him number one, because he was better than Malenko by one hold.
Yeah. That's a good one. I did not. I mean, yeah, you're right. He's a shoo-in once he calls it a career, or becomes a free agent, I guess. My number one's your number four, and I don't think she's going to get it anytime soon because of politics in the back with a certain other lady. But everybody has said, even Triple H has said she should be in. Everybody except for one person says she should be in. And actually that person, Stephanie McMahon even said that she'll get in there. So
and she might now. She might now after this merger.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's China. I mean, China, like you said, came in and, to be a bodyguard, a woman bodyguard. Like they said, normally it's a guy that's the bodyguard, a guy that's the manager, the hired muscle. And for Triple H and Shawn Michaels to bring her in on a limb, because nobody wanted her in there. They said it was going to be your butts if this did not work out. And I still remember one of her first TV appearances, she took Terry Reynolds and swung her around like a rag doll.
Yeah.
And Terry Reynolds looked like a rag doll. But yeah, China definitely should get in. And like you said, it could be sooner than later. So let's move on. We got two more categories. The next one, kind of hard for me to find, but top tag teams that should be in the Hall of Fame. And this comes up every year, just like the other ones. So I'll be interested to see what tag teams you found. I found two for sure that should be in. So,
I kind of cheated because I made it tag teams and stables, but I got one stable.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. Oh, it'll be interesting to see the stable that you got in. You're number 5.
Remember how we were talking about how Bam Bam Bigelow is a big guy and what he could do as a big guy? I went one bigger. I went a bit bigger, and I love these guys. Every time I watch a match,
I know who you're talking about.
I watch these guys. These guys are awesome to me. I'm like, how can you get these guys this big and then go and do what they do? And you've got a guy named Typhoon, and you've got another guy named Earthquake.
You went the other way, okay.
Well, it's still, what is it, Tugboat and...
Yep, Tugboat and natural disasters.
Right, the natural disasters. I see the natural disasters, I'm going, and these guys both of these guys, longevity. That's just these two guys together, and they were always tag teams no matter where they went, WCW, WWF. They were always a tag team. And it's like they always followed each other. Yeah, you got the one who ended up becoming the infamous, I can't remember. He's the one that had the Stormtrooper helmet that when
Shockmaster.
One of them was the Shockmaster.
That gimmick flopped.
But yeah, to me, I see the natural disasters, and I think they should be in. Honestly, they should be in. They should have been in long ago.
Yeah, that's a good one. That turn that Tugboat did on the Bushwhackers. And speaking of that, rest in peace to Butch.
The Butch, yeah.
But yeah, the turn that he did, because he was supposed to be, they're building Typhoon or Tugboat at the time as like the new face and baby face, and then he turns and aligns himself with Earthquake, which was phenomenal. My number 5, I'm pairing a couple up here. They're current, and one's already in, but the other 3 guys I'm going to name will get in and should get in, and it should just a matter of time. The team of Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys. And I hope they kind of both go in together as a team, maybe even with the Dudleys, but those 2 definitely should get in. Hardy's might take a little bit of time, especially what's going on with legal troubles with a certain Jeff. So,
Yep.
You're number 4.
My number 4, we kind of brought up earlier because of Bam Bam Bigelow. Every time I believe Ted is already in by himself.
Yeah.
But how IRS isn't in? You put Money Inc. in. I think they were at the time they were such a great heel tag team. I mean, you've got the guy with the money, you got the tax man, and every time I saw those 2, and the lineage they both have is so incredibly strong with the Rotundas, with Mike with Bray and Bo. And I understand Ted DiBiase Jr. is adopted, but still, with Money Inc. and I believe Money Inc. is the group that brought in the Undertaker, if I'm not mistaken. At
$1 million Man brought him in.
What's that?
$1 million Man brought him in.
Yeah, but it
I
wasn't
don't
part
think
of
it was Money Inc. at the time.
It wasn't going to be part of Money Inc. But you still look at it, and you got how many people that were in Money Inc. that could get put in at the time with Money Inc. And I love the money. I love Money Inc. Hell, Steve Austin could probably go in under Money Inc. because he was the $1 million champion.
Yeah, that was a dumb gimmick.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Ted DiBiase Jr. was not adopted.
Huh?
Ted DiBiase
Jr.'s not adopted?
No, that's his real name.
I don't understand why I thought that. I heard that somewhere. Maybe Cody Rhodes said that.
Maybe Cody Rhodes. No, because I was just looking up to make sure that because I remember DiBiase was in the Hall of Fame, and Ted DiBiase Jr. was the one that inducted him. So
yeah, I know Senior's in. I just didn't know if Money Inc. was.
No,
but
Money
I know
Inc.
it wasn't
not
in
because IRS ain't in, and like you said, they show up together almost every time you see $1 Million Man
and Virgil
at Raw recently. IRS is right behind them.
Right, I mean, especially the what was it the Raw 30th anniversary?
Yeah, with the head of gambling and stuff. Yeah,
how are they not in? How
exactly? I got a tag team that should be in, and they might be in the NWA Hall of Fame and some other wrestling Hall of Fames, and they really didn't do.
We got the same one. Do we got the same one?
They honestly don't. I don't recall them having a long run in WWE, but with the way that WWE owns everything, they should be in. Managed by Jim Cornette, and that's the Midnight Express. You're number 3.
My number 3. It's just you always picking my thunder right before I get it. My number 3 is Ronnie Garvin, and it's the Midnight Express. How is the Midnight Express not in? Did Jim Cornette burn bridges and he's going to hurt people, and that's the reason why everything's going the way it goes? I'm thinking the Midnight Express will be in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
How this group is not in is beyond me.
And the thing is, if I recall too, that and I might have to do some research, but I think even at one time they tried to combine one from the Rock and Roll Express and
Ricky Morton
Express to try to make a new Midnight Express, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, they were trying to get. I think it was supposed to be Ricky Morton, and I think it was supposed to be Ricky Morton and Ron Garvin. I think those two were
I don't know. It just didn't work out. My number 3 is another team that I don't know what to say, but everywhere these two teams tagged up, WCW or WWE, they held gold for a while. They're part of the iconic stable of the Four Horsemen. And it's the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson. I mean,
I saw that one.
they even had a little fight in AEW over the last year or so ago. So, but
They
yeah,
had,
Brainbusters.
I remember that because it was MJ. Was it supposed to be MJ? No, who am I thinking? I remember because they were supposed to. They were managing. They were managing two people, and yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, yeah. It was Arn Anderson was like the trainer or something, or advocate, let's say, of Cody Rhodes and somebody. They were supposed to have a match against FTR, I think it was, and Tully Blanchard got involved. And I think a few weeks later, Tully Blanchard teamed with FDR to come out, and he had the old robe, the old NWA titles that him and Arn held in that match. So, yeah, my number 3 is the Brainbusters. Your number 1 and 2, I hope we have the same. But I don't know. You said you had a stable, so you haven't had your stable yet. So
yep, my stable's right here.
All right.
My stable is right here. To be honest, if The Rock isn't in the stable,
you're going that stable.
We don't get The Rock that we have today.
Wow.
You already have Ron Simmons in as a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
You already have Mark Henry in as in the Hall of Fame. I think we got the Godfather in. I think the Godfather's in too.
The Godfather is Godfather's in.
I believe that if he's in, and you've got D'Lo Brown, and The Rock. I know D'Lo's not in.
D'Lo's not in. I don't think D'Lo
the only way D'Lo gets in is if the Nation of Domination gets in, and I believe if you have Degeneration X, you need the perfect stable to go up against Degeneration X, and to me, that was the Nation of Domination.
Yeah, I like that stable. That definitely would have been up there. My number 2 is a team that in the late 80s, early 90s was part of the tag team. But actually, both of these teams were just in the mix of tag teams. And then, unfortunately, one passed away early. They brought back the other one, formed them with his brother-in-laws. And that's the British Bulldogs. I think both Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith should get in because they've had some iconic matches. I don't think they've had many title reigns, if not long title reigns, but British Bulldogs should get in. You're number 1.
They're always supposed to. Every time you think of the Road Warriors, this team is always said is supposed to be the other version of the Road Warriors, and I still to this day don't understand it. I think you go on any chat board worth their salt. They go who should be in the Hall of Fame, tag team or singles, and every single time you can't put Owen in, you can't put Benoit in. What's the first thing they always say? And it's always Demolition. Yep. How Demolition is not in is unbelievably crazy.
And I'm taking the original Demolition Axis match. I'm not throwing Crush in there.
No, I'm not throwing Crush in either.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good filler because one of them couldn't wrestle full time, so Crush was a good fit.
Yep.
But like you said, they compared to LOD. They've had some great matches with LOD. I can see why the comparison's there because they came out in, not shoulder pads, but they had the mask on. They had the armor on there. So I see the comparison. But LOD is top-notch tag team. Demolition, yeah, they might be in the top 5, but yeah, they should still be in. Don't get me wrong because they've had they had a decent title run a couple times.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah they did.
Yeah. All right. So we're over time, but we want to get this last category in. And I'm actually kind of interested to see which way you went on this. Because I will admit right now, we're going to go with our top 5 all-time Hall of Famers. I did not have Hogan Andre, or Hogan, Andre, Ultimate, or Flair on there because to me that's like a shoe in. But I can't wait to see what you got because I don't think we're gonna have any of the same on this one. So you're number 5.
I'm going to tell you, took through my 3 mine and just threw them out.
All right. Let's go with your number 5.
My number 5. This man is always my personal favorite. This man, what he's done for back in the day, back in the 70s with Flair, what he's done in WCW as the booker and the matchmaker and everything else, what he ended up doing in WWF and WWE at the Performance Center. And that's Dusty Rhodes. To me, Dusty Rhodes is always when he came up, I'm like, how was he not in faster? It's one of those, but yeah, Dusty Rhodes.
And he's the creator of War Games. That was his baby there. For me, number 5, we kind of talked about stables and families and stuff like that. And both these guys were managers of probably a handful of Hall of Famers themselves. Jimmy Hart for sure is one. But the other guy I kind of lumped him into is the king of the family. And as a matter of fact, his stable is called the Heenan family. Bobby Heenan. Manager. Those 2 managers are iconic. So you're number 4.
You went right as soon as you started naming people off. I'm going, okay, that's gone. That's gone.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I believe he's one of the few that are actually in the Hall of Fame twice. Of course, he's in by himself because he is one of the icons. No, not Sting. Because Sting's got to go in soon too. But when I first started watching wrestling, it was always this. It was always this. If you didn't know this, you didn't know that.
Yep.
Ric Flair was the man, but the 4 Horsemen is the blueprint of how stables should be run.
Yep.
Absolutely. Ollie Anderson, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, Ric Flair, J.J. Dillon.
Yep.
And then but they put in the original 4. They could have put in 20 for the Hall of.
The original 4 deserved it.
But yeah. I'm going to take Ric Flair out of it and say the 4 Horsemen.
All right. No, and that's fine. I mean, the 4 Horsemen, the original 4 Horsemen definitely deserved it. And Flair will probably get another induction because I have a feeling they're going to induct Evolution at some time. And if they go to families, he'll get in with him and Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and David.
What's that?
And David.
Yeah, and David. My number 4 is a guy who never stepped in, as far as I know, into a WWE booking or ring or whatever, but a lot of guys came through this territory, came through this federation. Up here in Minnesota, AWA, the owner, Vern Gagne, trained a lot of people, had a lot of connections with them. So it was the stomping ground. It was the AAA. It was the AAA of baseball. Everybody looked for a lot of wrestlers in AWA. So Vern Gagne, I definitely is, and that might be a homer pick. So
it might be, but it's a good pick. It really is a good pick. I like it.
Yeah.
My number 3, I can't remember if he's in because of a stable. I know he's in by himself.
Okay.
But I think he's in in as a stable. But you didn't name him off in the list of people that are Hall of Famers that are too easy, and that's the Heartbreak Kid, the showstopper. I know he's in by himself.
Right, he's in with DX too.
And he's in with DX. So yeah, the showstopper, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. No, that's another one too that they start doing the matches. He's going to be in quite a few times. I
Oh
think.
God, he's gonna have a wing by himself.
Yeah, exactly. My number 3 is a guy who, honestly, great announcer, great GM. Back in the day, a great wrestler, a big guy himself. And the thing is before they come out, they renamed a little prep room after him, and every promotion uses it and calls it the same thing, and that's the gorilla room or whatever, gorilla press room or something like that. But Gorilla Monsoon, I mean, you get a little section named after you, and everybody uses it. You're in. You're number 2.
Well, this was the second name he threw out.
Well, I know.
Truthfully, if this guy never got into a wrestling ring, I don't honestly think we might still have wrestling, but not at the height that we did. This is the first man who crossed in the movies. It did so much. Still his best role ever. He's in for the NWO. He's in for his time with the WWE and WCW. But his best role is Thunder. Oh gosh,
Thunderlips?
no. That was his role. But he was on Thunder in Paradise.
No, Thunder in Paradise.
Thunder in Paradise. Still the best role in the world. And that's Hulk Hogan. No, I'm kidding on the Thunder in Paradise.
Yeah. No, and like you said, and also the most iconic turn ever, to start the NWO. So my number 2 is the creator. They're giving him creation of the Royal Rumble. He's the first Intercontinental Champion. He's one of Vince McMahon's lackeys, butt kissers, whatever you want to call them. And that's Pat Patterson. I mean, he has a lot to do with the business. A lot of people credit him, for training, for giving advice, all that stuff. So yeah, you're number 1. I know we got. I'll say right now, I know who your number 1 is. I mean, obviously, but
it's obvious because if my number 2 doesn't
my
body,
number 1 is
my number 2 doesn't body slam my number 1.
Go ahead.
My number 2 doesn't body slam my number 1. We're going nowhere.
Yeah,
and that's Andre the Giant.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that match too is iconic. Like you said, Hogan doesn't get the torch pass, and Hogan's even said too that he did not know until he's getting ready which way the match was going to go.
Right.
And he goes and gets ready, goes to talk to Andre. Andre's like, Hogan's like, what do we do? He goes, don't worry, I got it. And he's like, I want to know who finished. He's like, don't worry, we'll know.
You'll know.
Yeah. But my number 1, again, just like Andre, did not, I should say never got to see her wrestle because I probably saw her a few times when I was younger, just don't recall. But for her, I know back in the day, women's wrestling wasn't around, so yeah, she's the longest reigning champion. But again, if it's not for her, we don't get the women wrestling in the 90s. We don't get the wrestling today in the women. And that's the fabulous Moolah. To me, her doing what she did back in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s leads up to today, even though they credit the ladies of the 90s as the innovator of women's wrestling. But if Moolah didn't start it, we don't have women's wrestling as
we don't have Robin, we don't have Richter, Wendy Richter, we don't have Rockin' Robin, we don't have London Blaze, we don't have any of that.
Yep, we don't have the girls that did Glow, we don't have none of that.
Exactly.
So, well, with that being said, guys, we went a little extra. Hopefully you liked the list. Again, if you're watching this on replay or whatever, comment, reach out to us. We're not hard to find. Let us know what kind of topics you have. I mean, we kind of got a rotation to going. We kind of like what we're doing, but we definitely want to hear from you guys. Exactly. So with that being said, Tim, you got any final thoughts?
No, I'm excited. It's another weekend. Keep watching C2C. We've got a lot of great shows tonight. Is Beyond the Rope or between the ropes with Big B. Maybe one of these days I'll jump on because I see like seems like there's a big party on when you guys are on. Saturday we've got I was going to say morning tailgate, but that'd be wrong. But we've got Saturday we've got on on deck with Bacon and Big B and myself and maybe some special guests. Who knows who shows up? Before then, I wish you guys all a happy Easter. That's this week, so you guys be safe, have fun.
Yeah, with that said, like Tim said, between the ropes, we're going to recap WrestleMania. We'll probably definitely get to talk what happened on Raw. Wednesday in the den with the Cougars. Can't forget about them. Women's professional football or the Cougars football team. They start their regular season on the 22nd of April, so we can't definitely miss that out. On deck, definitely on Saturday. I'm sorry, it used to be on Tuesday, but Saturday we'll recap the first week of baseball. How the Twins are, on pace to become World Series champs because they can't be beat.
And Tampa Bay is still on track to win 162 games.
Yeah, that's going to be a battle because both are in the American League. I mean, which one's going to go 162-0? So
exactly.
As you know, we're joking, but and then pencil us in the week before the draft, the Sunday before the draft, morning tailgate. We'll give our draft predictions. Then the following week, we will recap the draft and see how our teams did and what we think. But with that being said, as always, check us out next week on C2C Rankem. Have a good night.